All right, all right, all right, all right, all right. Okay, shalom, shalom, Sister Deborah, prophetess in the wilderness. And you know what? That's all right with me. Coming again on this Deborah platform with another message. And I will say this is a lovely, lovely evening in which the Most High, Ahia has made. And I, Sister Deborah, shall and I will rest therein. I'm going to talk about a topic uh, that many seems to wonder going to and fro, trying to take a side. And I want to share some information with you regarding polygamy. Uh, the Father has been teaching me from the wilderness in the last 4 days, and I've learned so much, so much. And I just want to say to you all, I give him all praise and glory and honor. I thank him for always adding on me more light. You see, if you're not learning every day something new from the Most High Ahia, you really need to find out where do you stand with him and him with you. He is one that has always found time in my life throughout the day, the night, the morning, through water to continue to reveal things and teach me. I thank him for the wilderness and having that place where he can just teach me from. And that wilderness is a place that he chose for me to hear his voice. And it's so many voices in the land to where you cannot hear a higher. So therefore, he teaches me from the wilderness where I don't have to be caught up on the voice on the left or the voice on the right or the voices behind me or the voices that is before me. I can really be very attentive toward the voice that is in me that's teaching me from the wilderness level of understanding spirit and truth, and not so much understanding the flesh of man's wisdom, the flesh of man's knowledge, the flesh of man's understanding. Because with the flesh comes personal opinion, personal feelings, personal emotions, all over the place. So I just thank the Father, a higher, for giving me a place where I can go and He can teach me and give me more light, even in the midst of the midnight hour in which we are in. I just thank Him for taking out that time and being there for me in that way. You know, because I look at myself, the more and more I think of it, I really do. I look at myself as very special in Him because I'm like, why are you talking to me this late night? Why are you talking to me early morning? That's not what I'm saying. I'm trying to show you, paint a picture to you of what it feels like him dealing with me and how he deals with me. So I thank him for having the school that I would attend. I do attend in the wilderness versus on every side. So you know how he say, Deborah, stay in your lane, run in your lane, just look forward for the finish line. Don't worry about who on the left and who in the right lane, who in the left lane. Stay in your lane. That's pretty much what he's saying. You too many voices in the world, too many voices in the land. One saying this, one saying that, one saying this, one saying that. Stay in with me. We running this lane. We running this race. I'm in you, you in me. We are one. Let's rumble. So we run on, and that's what he wants me to do. I'm going to cover polygamy because I really want to cover it based on many verses and scriptures and chapters that many have spoke on. But I don't know if the Father's going to allow me to. I'm just going to first start talking and hoping that maybe He would, if it be His will, that He would direct me to the verses in which He have taught me from. Okay, okay. First and foremost, the Most High wants you to know He never endorsed a polygamy. It is not something that can be found in His perfect will. It is something that can be found under His permissive will. Never will it be found under His perfect will. Another thing the Most High has explained to me, that when I would read from the book, I searched to find the voice of Yah. See, people don't understand. Every word that comes out of the book is not the word of Yah. Nor do you hear, you can't take every word that people are saying and make it the voice of Yah. And that's why the Ruach HaKodesh comes. He comes to help you understand the difference from His voice and the difference from man's voice. He said He knoweth His voice. His sheep knoweth His voice. And it is so true. It is so true. Many people know the voice of man. They don't know the voice of YAHWEH. Many people don't have the ear to hear what the Most High is saying, nor do they have the eye to see what He's saying. That's why He said they say they see, they cannot see. They say they hear, they cannot hear. That stands for today. Great number of people cannot hear, nor can they see. So because they can't hear and they can't see, they follow the flesh of man. Flesh of man they can hear. Flesh of man they can see. The flesh of man teaches wisdom. The flesh of man teaches knowledge. The flesh of man teaches understanding. Another thing the flesh of man teaches, their own personal opinion. The flesh of man also teaches their emotions. They teaches their feelings, to where people are really getting a deal out of the mouth of man and not out of the mouth of YAHWEH. So then they begin to say that now, since man has given them so much information, it is of YAHWEH, and it is not. YAHWEH has not endorsed polygamy. And He wants me to let you know that He did not approve that, nor did He mention in any book that He approved of it. He began to tell me about something that was very important. I'm going to take y'all one place He took me in the wilderness regarding this topic. He took me to Genesis. He took me all the way back to the wilderness and took me to a place called the Garden of Eden. He said, there I put trees, the tree of life, and also the tree of knowledge of good and evil. This is how He was teaching me. He said there were other trees outside of the tree of life, and outside of, they were all in the same vicinity. But there was also the tree of knowledge and good and evil also in along with them. And He told Adam, you are to eat of any. You can take of any of these trees, but the tree of knowledge of good and evil, thou shalt not take of it, or else. He gave him instructions and direction, and consequence of if you do, this is what would happen. Why? I'm in the class in the wilderness, and the Spirit teaching me, and I'm listening to Him, and I'm trying to, not trying, I'm actually gripping already what He's trying to say, and I'm like, okay. He said, here I said, thou shalt not take of it. And I gave him the consequence. He said, in the 3rd chapter of Genesis, when Eve, it is said, he said, it is said, it is not he saying that he said this, but it is said that Eve was speaking to someone out of the tree of knowledge of good and evil. The tree in which I had already given Adam and said unto him not to take of it, but not to eat, or in a sense, entertain. And he began to say, now what is it thou see it, Deborah? I said, but Father, I see here, if why didn't you tell them when they were entertained, no, don't do it? Why did they take of and entertain the tree in which you said not to? After all those other trees were there, why that tree? And why is it you did not stop them? Because the consequence of taking of that tree brought in from that time on all the way to the end, Father, sin, Satan, and his ways. So why didn't you stop them before they entertained Satan and ushered in sin for thousands and thousands of years on down the line? You could have nipped sin right then and there. And why didn't you? He said, you got it. Now you got it. When they say polygamy is something I spoke or I allowed or I accepted as it's one of my perfect will, they don't understand. It was a sin. It was something that took place, and it was a permissive will. It is in the permissive will, along with other things that was in the permissive will. He said, did you see me, Deborah? In those scriptures, could you see me? Did you see me stop them from taking of or entertaining Satan, knowing that it will be sin on the face of the whole earth from that day on? That's powerful, you guys. So this is what he was trying to get me to see. What make you or anyone even think that I will be detached to polygamy and acceptable and endorse such a thing when I did not even stop sin from touching ground on the earth? It's the thing that what he's saying to me is what I've said to many people on my page videos. If you saw 8 men being hung on a tree back in the days, and they not only let them hung on a tree, they beat them, they burn them and be alive, and then they hung them. Why didn't YAHWEH stop that? I tell you all, you don't know who he is because you think you know him, and you don't. Your best bet is to get with someone that he deals with in spirit and truth, for they will teach you the righteous will of the Father, the perfect will. And they will teach you the permissive will. And they will teach you through spirit and truth, not through the loudmouthness of these men who have driven the multitude of men out in the deep, and now they can't find their way home. So they settle for being out in the deep and call it comfortable. Not understanding you away from YAHWEH. You're not on dry land with YAHWEH. You away from YAHWEH in the deep. And at any time, you will and you shall drown. Because YAHWEH ain't all the way out in the deep playing with you because you want to be led by idol God. You want a man to lead you. You want to be led in the deep. You want to hear the voice of a man. You want to hear the teaching of a man. You want the man's understanding. You want the man's wisdom, the man's knowledge, the man's emotions, the man's feelings, the man's personal opinion. And you want it way out in the deep. So YAHWEH said, let him remain in the deep is where I shall allow them to remain. It is his permissive will that polygamy is being spoken of and has been portrayed. It has nothing to do with his perfect will. That's why so much chaos from everyone that has practiced polygamy, that were men of a higher, that has practiced it. Read the history of the outcome of their polygamy lifestyle. It is so wicked and evil, you guys. It is so wicked and evil. So that's why he wanted me to go to Genesis, where he took me, and want me to understand, if I did not stop Adam and Eve from entertaining that which I said thou shalt not, what make you and anybody think that I'm going to play a role in polygamy? Why should I step in that sort of role? It is of the flesh. Polygamy has no spirit and truth. It has no righteousness in it. It has no, and let me explain to when I say righteousness. See, people don't understand the words that are found in spirit and truth. YAHWEH is righteousness. He has a brand. You know how they brand cattle? Okay. Well, YAHWEH has a brand called righteousness, faith, belief, and fear. And it is branded already in his. You see? When you have those sort of things, you don't follow after things that's outside of that. You follow after things that is within that. You get what I'm saying? Anything outside of those four things are things that are found under the permissive will of the Father. Okay? So a lot of things everybody is calling the will of the Father, it's not. He said, come Genesis 3, Deborah. That's why I stayed on you, keeping and holding firm to Genesis 1 and 2. That's the foundation of the whole book. And if they lose that, then they have lost all meaning of understanding in spirit and truth. And it is found to be true. Polygamy is not something that he okayed and made perfect, fall under his perfect will. Let me give you another example. He said he did not endorse that. That has no place in his perfect will. He wants me to let you know that polygamy has no place in YAHWEH's perfect will. Okay? He said if you just sit down and do your study with just you yourself and read, you could see the chaotic destruction, okay, that has been founded under polygamy. He said he don't care who it was that was found under that category as living that lifestyle. Look at what it done. See, and that's what people don't understand. A lot of them, they run over here to Jacob and say, see, we the people, but they don't even understand. We the people are those who have been branded with faith, first of all, with righteous, belief, faith, and fear. They are on a brand where he brand your spirit when you come down here. That same brand shows you in the Lamb Book of Life. So a lot of people is really down on the earth trying to role play heaven and trying to role play righteous and trying to role play right. And they're falling under wrong because they're role playing the ways of man. They're role playing the way man said it is. Because see, one thing about one nation, the house of Israel, they always tapped into an idol god. They never wanted YAHWEH to be their God. They never did. And even to today, they're tapping into everything these men are saying because they want an idol God that they can see and believe, that they can hear them in their natural ears and believe. They don't want the creator who you cannot see, but through the power you can yet believe because he lives in you. They don't want that type. They want the one that they can work out with. They want a God that they can work out with, they can run with. They can a God that's going to tell them they kings, they leaders, they rulers, they controllers, they people who got slaves in captivity. This is the mindset of the way these men want to live in this captivity. They don't even recognize where they are at in this hour we're in. We're running up on the minutes now. And they haven't even gripped where we are as a people in this hour. You're still in captivity trying to bring Torah on top of captivity, and you can't. Because this here captivity has an end game. Just as it had a beginning game, it has an end game. Just like it says, you're going to come in curse, you're going to go out curse. You got to see the end game. And the end game is that every last one of your Negro butts are going to be destroyed. And that's a part of why they want to swim over in the mouth of a man to lead and guide them. Ahiah did not approve polygamy. He didn't approve all. So David and Solomon and Abraham and Jacob can have all this chaos. Look, he wants me to say this here. Look at all the sin they did against Ahiah to uphold polygamy. Let's go to David. Let's go to David. If you notice that David, he took on a lifestyle. Now listen to this. David took on a lifestyle that caused him to take on a man's wife. Not only did he take on a man's wife, he lust. See, you all don't understand. Polygamy is a form of lust. It's a man want what he want, and he gonna get what he said he want, and the desire is gonna be so heated. I'm showing you how he taught me in the wilderness. The desire is gonna be so heated. He gonna want what he want and gonna go after. The same mindset that David had when he went after this man's wife is the same mindset that the men today are going after these women as polygamy and going after polygamy, period. They going after it the wrong way. They going after it not only the wrong way, they're going after it an unrighteous way. See, polygamy is not something you go around teaching men that this is what you want to do. If that was the case, David would have been out there teaching his whole army how to practice polygamy. Okay? You never heard Abraham out there teaching the congregation how to practice polygamy. You never hear Jacob out there teaching the congregation how to practice polygamy. You never heard Solomon sit and stand and speak, we're going to show you how to practice polygamy. These men never taught, teach, or show men that this is the way to what is okay by Ahiah and righteous. We can practice this lifestyle. Now, how could these men of Yah live a lifestyle that they did not go around teaching others to live? They weren't doing that. Now listen to this. David had not only Saul's house, he had the father had given him all of what Saul had owned in his house. You know, even his jewelry, his wives, and everything. And now y'all got to understand, when Ahiah had turned over the power to David, David inherited those things. Ahiah didn't say, come on, get his wife. No, he didn't. No, he did. And you won't find any scriptures down anywhere saying that Ahiah said, the word of Yah came to David. The word of Yah came to David's prophet that was with David. You will never see a scripture where he's telling them or telling David to practice polygamy, telling David it was okay. No, this has to do with lust. That's what starts in the heart of men that desire more women. It is lust. It is not a highest perfect will. It is his permissive will. Why? Because everything shall come before the throne to be judged. Because while man is telling men that it's okay, they don't understand that for you to have many wives or 2 wives, 3 wives, 4 wives, 5, you have to have something in your heart that is not of a higher. Something in your heart that is not of a higher. Let's go there. Let's go with David. David desired the man's wife. So that took him, when he saw her, he was lusting after her. There go lust. Then he decided to have him really killed. So there go murder. Okay? Then it also brought in what? Adultery. So what will of Ahijah portrayed in that role of polygamy? See, Ahijah wants you to know that these men are teaching unrighteous, but they're feeding you what you want to hear, what you desire to hear, to make you someone special in the land of your captivity. But if you focus on Ahijah, you would be worried about wives. You would be worried about virgins. You would be worried about that, because he said, seek ye the kingdom first, and all shall be added. But man has taught you, you're going to be a king, a leader, a ruler, and you're going to have wives, and you're going to have all these things, which are nowhere in Ahijah's perfect will, but every measure of it will be judged. Let's say, for instance, if you have 4 wives, anything you say to her, any one of them, Ahijah is going to measure your mouth toward each and every last one of them. When you stand before the throne of Yah, not only are you standing before the throne of Yah for yourself, you're going to be judged for all those spirits that you took advantage of, that you lust after, that you desire, and all. See, they don't see that. But see, the ones that was like David, look how David suffered. 99.9 of these men on this earth have not paid the price of what David has paid. See, that's why I'm saying, y'all bent. Some man them bent y'all butts all up with this polygamy. They have bent child tails all up with this perpetual hate toward women. They have bent you all up and down. All up and down. And it's going to stand before the judgment seat of Ahijah. That individuals and those individuals who's preaching and teaching us, they're going to have to stand and answer, said the Father. He says, so Deborah, speak what I give unto thee, because hearing they can't hear, seeing they can't see, because they want the idol God, a man, that they can see and believe, and they can hear and believe, because they only want that which brings pleasure to their flesh. They don't want spirit and truth. That's why I don't want you to go all out trying to break that thing down to them, because you can give them all of it, all that I've given you, and it wouldn't mean a thing. So I just give him praise for giving me the opportunity to take out this opportunity to be on here and stand firm. Polygamy is not endorsed by Ahijah, nor is it in his perfect will, nor is it in his righteous will. Okay? Now, what happened to David? What the men on the earth today don't understand is this. You got to see the penalty and the price of life David paid for practicing polygamy. After he had taken on this man's life, took his wife, committed adultery, that was it. He didn't have no pleasure on earth. And then you sit and you listen to these men so highly say, oh, David had wife, Abraham had wife. Just hear me out. Jacob has wife. But y'all got to hear the destruction and the wicked and evil in a polygamy family of men of righteousness. But these men today, there's no righteousness in them. They're trying to make right, wrong, wrong and right. They're trying to say that this here Ahia never said you couldn't, and he didn't say there was anything wrong with it. You cannot pull up one verse in the whole Bible. Let's go from Genesis to Revelation. Pull out any word out of that Bible that out of the mouth of Yah spoke polygamy, you are allowed. Spoke, Ahia said, polygamy is righteous. Spoke, Ahia said, polygamy, you can live. You won't find one verse out of the mouth of Yah. Not one verse out of the mouth of Yah. Now you got to understand, you hear a lot of it out of the mouth of Moses, but if you have to go back to Moses and also see, he didn't make it to the promised land. Why? Because Ahia said he didn't believe. This is the same Moses that when Ahia was going to bring his wrath on Israel, he told him to block me out the book if you won't forgive them. This is the same Moses that's telling you what thou said Ahia. Now, he ain't saying Ahia said none of that. Let me not say that. Moses didn't even tell you that Ahia is telling you that it's okay for polygamy. That was Moses, out of the mouth of Moses were these things said, you guys. You did not hear this out of the mouth of Yah. What Ahia wants me to say to you all is 2 Timothy 2nd chapter, verse 15. Study to show thyself approved unto Ahia. Okay? A workman that need not to be ashamed. Rightly dividing the word of truth. Right then, you have to understand what is said in Timothy, which here today, and many always and never got, and I can say that always, they never got it. When you're studying this book, it is a study guide, okay? Instructions and directions that you can study. When you study it, is you only to show yourself approved, that you're willing to study. And in that study can bring a form of thirst. And after you study and you thirst for that which you're studying, then it says, rightly divide the word of truth. Rightly means correctly. It also means, rightly also means, correctly separate. No, that's divided. So rightly means rightly, correctly. Okay? Dividing means split and separate. That means when you read this book, you have to separate spirit and truth, which is in the old, as said, the word of truth. And when Yeshua came, now it's spirit and truth, but back in the old, it was the word of truth. So you have to separate the word of truth from what? From what man is saying, what Moses is saying, or what David is saying, or what anybody is saying. You got to separate it. Why do they have to separate it, Deborah? Because Ahia's and what Ahia is saying is more important what proceed out of the mouth of Yah than what proceed out of the mouth of man. You have to be able to apply it in spirit and truth, not just in your flesh because you want to be led by the flesh. And that's what the teachers are doing. Those that are on these devil platforms, and especially our men today, they're teaching these young men and these elder men about how to live in the flesh. They ain't teaching them how to live or be led by the spirit. So therefore, polygamy is on there. That's for the flesh. Everything that has surround polygamy, it does not benefit Ahia. Nothing lining up with polygamy benefits higher. You see what I'm saying? We then took it and made it as if it's the righteous will of Yah, because Yah did not say not to, or he did not say it was okay, and he did not say it was not okay. But let's go to Genesis. When Adam and Eve, Adam was said that it was not to take of, and Eve stood at the tree with Adam, and they took of. Why didn't the Father, Ahia, stop them before the sin hit the earth in a way that it will go to the end? Why? When Ahia knew that if they take of this, Father, he knew that it would go all the way to the end. Sin all, from that time, Ahia knew that, but he didn't stop it. So what makes you think he gonna come and stop you from committing or lust and adultery? You see, what makes you think he's gonna stop you because you didn't drilled in these men's heads that it's okay to commit adultery and polygamy? The Father wants to say that there's some power in words in which many don't know that power rests therein because they believe the mouth of a man. They, instead of believing spirit and truth, they believe the flesh of a man. He said it's more than twice where he tells you that your body, woman, don't belong to you. It belongs to your husband. His body belongs to you. It don't belong to him. It belongs to you. How can a man's body belong to his wife if it belongs to several other women? Then his body is not belong to her. It belongs to 7 other women. That it doesn't make any sense. And this is the word he said carry power. He said, when he said your body is not your own, it is your wife. His body is not his own. I mean, her body is not her own, it's her husband. So how is the power of the word own bypassed? And you can come in and say, her body is mine, her body is mine, her body is mine. My body belongs to all of them. See how they didn't bent the word? They didn't bend it all up, because the word own, your own, that means something that belongs to you. But how can it belong to the wife that's married first and marriage certificate, legally married by the law of the land, and then belong to other women? That's not the law of the land. See, that's where a lot of them is kind of messed up. That's why they want to get people out in the woods and take people away from what Ahia has allowed the law of the land to have. Their say so. He'll even allow you to come into a land of your captivity, who also have set guidelines and laws. And what are we doing? We're wanting to break the law even of the land and make it look like it's going up against something that Ahia has created. And Ahia ain't got nothing to do with that. Stop lying on the Creator. I don't know where along the line our men got to lie on the Creator just to make themselves feel right. Ahia is going to deal with these men that are out here teaching men that they should have more than one wife. Teaching men and breathing virgins just so men can have women. He's not pleased with women being used as slave toys. Okay? He's not pleased with that, because they have to stand before his throne, holy thrhrone, and be judged. And if they got to be judged based on how you ran their life, you are in trouble. See, what it's just like me. If I got 6 kids, okay, I can't run their lives when they only got one. When they stand before Ahia, it's not going to be me here and their father here. They're going to stand by themselves. What happened to that one breath of life he had in them? Man took over it, controlled it, made it a sex slave, and made it a slave in the land of its own slavery, in its own captivity. See, that's where the women become silly. There are a lot of was sin because the Father was showing me. A lot of times when these men thinking they're practicing polygamy, they got wives and they controlling them, they ruling them. How you say it's so much destruction and wicked and evil in the midst of it. They're loving on one another in a way that is not acceptable. They're doing things. They're feeling a certain way. What would make a man think that because he give you a roof over your head and some food to eat, he should be able to, you should be a slave toy to him, a slave tool, and you are nothing worth more than that. See, he didn't understand. See, the men out here don't understand. If we all got to go before the throne for judgment, should it be judged based on how you ran our lives? Or is it going to be judged based on how we lived our lives? A highest not going to judge a woman based on her husband. He's not going to judge her based on that. You see, I know it. They drill that mess in their heads. That's Jim Jones. All over again. That's what it all is. Jim Jones. And I cannot for nothing see how this stuff can go on. But going back to my father, like he was taking me to Genesis, it's his permissive will. But if they themselves give up their one breath of life to be up under the wings of a man that says, I give you a roof over your head and bread to eat, and you just be there for me to do anything I want to you, and as many women that I want in there, and they have made that right, and thinking a higher ain't gonna stand when they stand before him, judgment of lust and judgment of adultery is not gonna be before them. Come on. It is not his perfect will. So therefore, that which is not his perfect will shall be judged as a sin. And that's what a lot of people don't understand. Permissive will is what he permitted, allowed, okay? But it does not mean that it is his righteous will. It is his unrighteous will. So that's just what he said. So let's go back to David. The Father was showing me all the chaotic stuff went on in David's house about how his sons killed one another. One killed this and the other one killed another man, and the daughter was raped by the brother. All this stuff is going on in the house. And this is what I said to the Father. I'll never forget this. And this had to have been about 14 years ago. I said, why would you allow them to do that to David's daughter? And David never said a mumbling word. David never opened his mouth and chastised his son, because this is what was in. All kind of wicked and evil action was okay. You see? That's why if David would have stepped in, then the one brother wouldn't have killed the other brother. You see what I'm saying? But David never stepped in to correct anything, because David was so busy doing what? Fighting wars for Israel. You see? Fighting wars. So what did David see? Bloodshed all the days of his life. Murdering, killing. You see? Why? Why was all this in David, all this chaos in his household? Because of polygamy. All the wives and all the children from all the wives. You get it? So what makes you think today in the land of your captive, you're going to redo it and it's going to be perfect in his perfect will? It's going to be good. It's going to be, please, y'all. These people have brainwashed you all. And I'm so glad that we have more intelligent men now coming out and not against that. I am so glad, because they have at least can stand a chance of what is right and not get involved in that, because it is a manipulation of the mind. It's controlling the flesh of a mind of a man. And that's what they do. And the women. And it's so easy because people can throw these verses up here and show you. And a father went on. Let me go on and tell y'all something. Something you all did not know. Okay, I gave you 2 Timothy chapter 2, verse 15, where he said, now watch this here. Study to show thyself approved unto who? Not to man, not to woman. Study yourself to show yourself approved unto a higher. Thirst for spirit and truth. Study it like you thirsting to know truth. What is truth? It's righteousness, you guys. And then he tell you rightly divide The word of truth. The word of truth. So therefore, because you see polygamy, you got to rightly divide that. Put it in its right category. And what category is that? A permissive will and not the perfect will. See, the perfect will is going to be for the eternal. But permissive will is not. See, that's what a lot of people don't know. Those actions really leads up to sin. That's it. Okay? Look how he allowed Adam and Eve. He allowed them. At any time he could have said, no, my perfect will is set here. No, he allowed them. But do you say that's righteous? He allowed his permissive will to come in after he had already gave instructions and directions and the outcome of it. Now, Deborah, it's time for me to stand down and let the permissive will take his place. And that's where you at today, loaded in sin. That's why sin is over the earth, over the world, the whole earth. Sin. For that one person taking on a permissive will after even been told the perfect will. That's showing you also in the garden, the perfect will was the tree of life. So don't ever stand around and tell people that the perfect will is never present. It's always been there. It's been in the tree of life, in the garden. But man chose the permissive will that caused everything you see in now, all the wicked and evil you see in now, to be as heavy as it is today. Permissive will. That's that same permissive will that polygamy falls under. It has not been endorsed, nor has it been the perfect will of Yah. Why not? Let's go there. Genesis chapter 2, verse 24. Genesis chapter 2, verse 24. Therefore shall a man leave his father and his mother, and shall cleave unto his wife. Notice he's telling a man to leave his mother and father. Okay? And he is having to leave his home to go cleave to someone else. A female. Detach yourself to her. And what does he say? And they shall be one flesh. Verse 25. And they were both naked, and man and woman, man and his wife, and not ashamed. I asked the father when I was a young girl, what's all that about? He said, I'm showing you that I never intend for man to look at woman's body and woman to look at man's body in the lustful way and only see their bodies as something that gives man pleasure or give woman's pleasure. That's the way you see women dressing because they feel that's the only way they can gain attention from their husbands, their other side. Because men are looking at that and like I said, the tribe of Judah is the only nation that on the face of the earth that measure a woman from her back end. He don't even have to see nothing or know nothing. He just measure it from the back end. They take the woman's rear end as a trophy. That's mental issues going on. They don't care what she look like as long as she got something that they can walk with and be around that every other man gonna be lusting after and drooling over. That's their mindset. It's gone. Okay? Now, here he says, when he said naked, he wanted me to know. And I was a young girl. Because I said, why would you have that? They not ashamed and naked. He said, because that never was my intent, Deborah. That is my perfect will. Hallelujah. That's the Father's perfect will. That's the Father's perfect will. Not these women running around here dressing in a way that's trying to get men to look at them, to make them feel that they can be something or they are something because they got a back end. Any man that measure a woman by the back end, lust is who his heart is. Lust is his best friend at heart. They like women to dress though, to be overweight like that so that they can use her as a trophy. And when they go out, men love the idea of other men drooling over what they have. That's a sickness is among men. It's a very bad sickness. Because if you see other nations, they don't care what size. Now, don't get me wrong. They do like certain ones. Everybody got their preference. But our race, that's why women is the only why women is totally out of shape. We got bad health problems because we don't care about nothing about ourselves. We've been like this. This didn't happen when we got over here, y'all. This have always happened. That's why our men can run over there and get polygamy out of the Bible and say, well, he did it, but never understand when they did it, what was evil and wicked and evil doing amongst their family. And where did destruction come in their family. And we're going to go there because our father had to take me there. He said, so when they walking around here thinking there's going to be master and it's going to be so much better, it's going to be this. What did I tell them in Deuteronomy 28? What did I tell them how they was going to feel toward their women? What did I tell the women how they going to feel toward their men? What did I tell the men how they going to do their children? And they going to think they're going to override. See, one thing I can say about all of those who said they're awakening in the Hebrew Israelite movement, all of the ones that think they awaken, they got this mindset that they have disrespected the Most High, our highest curse. They call themselves and wiped it away in a way they don't have to look at it for what it says. That's why the end game is up on them. And a lot of our men, as Isaiah chapter 3 and 24 and 25 have said, he's going to destroy you by war and by the sword, even the mighty men. And then in Deuteronomy 28 tells you, and they ain't going to let up off of you until you are mentally destroyed. And you're running around here talking about polygamy and trying to train these men to start a lifestyle of wicked and evil and destruction. Because I don't care how many you got in there, you don't know what they doing. Satan don't give a rat's behind or how your mouth is loud and big. He don't care about how you think you in charge and you got it in order. Satan don't scare you. Don't scare Satan. You entertain him when you allow these lifestyles to come in. And you say, come on in. I got the door open waiting for you. And all kind of stuff is in those polygamy marriages. All kind of wicked and evil. And let the truth be told that one day it's all going to come out. It's already out. A lot of chaos. You can't erase it because if David suffered through it, look at all that chaos and killing and raping and doing all kind of things in David's household. All kind of wicked and evil stuff. Destruction. Now, we're going to go to another one. But Ahia said, rightly dividing the word of truth. You got to divide this word from what is truth and what is not. And because you want to sit up under a man to teach you what is truth, you're going to get a man's feelings, a man's wisdom, a man's knowledge, and a man's understanding breathed into your spirit. Because you reject, he said, seek ye the kingdom and let me add all that to you. No, they don't want that because they want the lust and the adultery and the whoremongering. And they want the things that bring pleasure to their flesh. That's why one can stand in the sanctuary and announce virgins. That's why one can pour out liquor on nationwide television and no one moves. And everybody that's following in that way is going straight to the broad gate. Straight in. Go right ahead. It's wide enough for you. Follow them. It's wide enough for you. Got plenty of room for you. Okay? So what the Father was saying to me is that his perfect will can be found in Genesis chapter 2 and verse 24 and 25. That's the perfect will. That's why when Yeshua said to y'all listen to this. When Yeshua came after the Pharisees, the Sadducees, Pharisees and Sadducees, or whoever they were, and they were saying, but Moses said, why would Moses tell them that? Why would Moses tell them that? Why would Moses tell them that they can give a written decree and get rid of their wives? Why would Moses tell them that? Why would Moses tell them that? Yeshua said, because their hearts was already wicked and evil. So Moses just fed them what their heart desired. That's what these men are giving you all. They're talking about polygamy, giving you what your heart desires. That is not the perfect will of YAHWEH, nor his righteous will. And we're going to break that thing down. That's what they're giving you. That is, none of that is his perfect will. It is his permissive will, but it's not his perfect will. Okay? Now, his perfect will in Genesis, and that's what Yeshua was saying to them when they said, Moses said we can give them a written decree. Moses also was the one that spoke about polygamy throughout the Bible. So therefore, you can't take what Moses was saying about polygamy or telling the men, if you got 5 wives, or if you got this and you got that, this. See how they lied on the Father? You lied on the Father again. You lied on the Father again, because the Father didn't tell you nothing like that. It did not come out of his mouth. And that's why he wants us to rightly divide the word of truth. Because the word of truth going to show up and show out on a lie. And they don't want to divide the word of truth because they want a lie. All that time that was talking about what David was doing and so on, even Abraham and whatever, you heard out of the mouth of Moses, not out of the mouth of Yah. Rightly dividing what comes out of the mouth of Yah versus what comes out of the mouth of man. That's what the Most High wants you all to do. Learn to rightly divide the word of truth. How? By telling what comes out of the mouth of Yah versus the mouth of man. Why you say that, Deborah? Because Yeshua stood on the mountain as our example. It is written. Hallelujah. And when you see something that said it is written, you guys, let me take you somewhere in the wilderness on this. It said from heaven. It is written. It's letting you know it's written in the book of the bosom of the Most High YAHWEH. It is written that man shall not live on bread alone, but every word that proceeds out of the mouth of Yah. Every word that proceeds out of the mouth of Yah. Who was he tempting by? Who was tempting him? Satan. So he was standing on the mountain letting Satan know, it is already written. It is already written in the heavens that I am not to live on a bread alone, but every word that proceeds out of the mouth of Yah. So when you're rightly dividing the word of truth, you have to separate the word that proceeds out of the mouth of Yah versus the word that proceeds out of the mouth of man. And what these men have came up on is they have took on the words that proceed out of the mouth of man, and they have manifested in the ears of man, in the eyes of man. They showed them, but not the man. The men didn't even have the sense enough to see, wait a minute, hold up. It's nothing in this book that proceed out of the mouth of Yah that said polygamy was righteous. Was righteous. See, you're looking for polygamy to be unrighteous in the book, and you're not going to be able to do that, because when sin came on the scene in Genesis 3, that was it. Anything can be founded under unrighteous. Unrighteous. You see? Why? Because sin hit the earth. When sin came on after they sinned in the Garden of Eden, when they took on that was it. Sin, and that's the only thing. And that's what the men are taking. They taking on the sin that man says that YAHWEH didn't say that we could not, just because he allowed them to be founded under the permissive will to do what they done. But it does tell you that it can. When we tell you where they can, look at all the wicked and evil that came upon their families. Jacob, Abraham, Solomon, David, So you see all the chaos that come with that lifestyle? You see? Wicked and evil and destruction. You all didn't have the sense enough to sit down and be up under the rock and let it teach you the proper way. You wanted man. You ran your tail far out in the deep so man can be your teacher, and he has taught you lies after lies after lies, and you're so full of lies to where you make wrong right wrong, and you out there and don't care if you make it to dry land, and you're not going to, said the Most High, higher. You went too far out with man. So the Father said he ain't gonna win you in. You out there. You see what I'm saying? Thank you, Father. Yeah. You see, you just went out, dived out there to follow behind a man. Never thought that Ahia said, seek ye me first, and all shall be added. No, I can't seek the kingdom first. I got to seek this man. He telling me how I can get rid of my ex-wife and all them kids. He teaching me how I can do away with my marriage and get in there and get virgins and run women and have women the way I want and control and have a slave plantation. And they all for it. They went and reenact the slave master. That's what they did. And none of y'all out there can even see it. None of y'all out there can't even see it. They're just how Jim Jones blind they are. They reenact slave master. Call themselves doing what the slave master has done, and then have the audacity to disrespect the Father and say that it was okay with him back in those days. No, it never was okay. Permissive will, that means when the sin hit in Genesis 3, anything goes. But it's not the perfect will. I mean, it's not what he want or desire us to do. That's why Yeshua said to them, when they gonna talk about getting a written decree to divorce their wives or to let their wives go, Yeshua said, wait a minute, Moses told y'all that because you're wicked and evil. Because that's what it meant, what he was saying. He said, but from the beginning, see, I love the beginning, y'all. Women, men, Genesis 1 and 2 will break you in and break you out. It is the foundation of everything you see in today. And because you never did get it for what it stood for, you're messed up from the floor up today. Because Genesis 1 and 2, when everything was perfect and everything was excellent, oh man, if you missed it, you missed it today. You have missed it today. And you need to be thanking the Father for sending Yeshua HaMashiach. Because if you missed it and you ain't got Yeshua HaMashiach, you didn't grip Yeshua HaMashiach mission, because without Genesis 1, you can't grip Yeshua HaMashiach. You can't grip Yeshua HaMashiach until you understand Genesis 1. And that's sad. That's sad, but it's spirit and truth. Let's put it like that. It's that where he say, study to show thyself approved, rightly dividing the word of truth. That's the word of truth, what I'm saying to y'all. If you miss Genesis 1, baby, you don't know nothing about this book, nor the will of the Father. You don't know nothing. You can go around here and clown like y'all doing and act like y'all think you know something. You don't know nothing. Let's get back to this polygamy, okay? Okay, now, the perfect will falls under Genesis chapter 2 and verse 24 and 25. Back into those two verses are the perfect ones. Anything after that, anything can go. So that's why you can get David doing what he doing and Solomon getting wives, and you can get anything. You can get anything. And that's what happened throughout the book. All the sick mess that didn't happen, there you go. But did you see Ahia coming and changing it? No, he didn't. And I'm going to show you an example from polygamy and the things that they did versus how Ahia will bring in his perfect will. We'll do that. Okay, so he wanted you to know that the word of truth is very powerful. And you all who have been following me, I keep saying to you all, the word of the spirit and truth is just like the word of truth. Now, the word of truth, let's get it. I want you to write this down. Psalms 119, verse 160. Samuel, 2 Samuel, chapter 7, verse 28. John, chapter 17, verse 17. 1 Kings, 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 chapter 17, verse 17 chapter 17, verse 24. Psalms chapter 119, verse 43. 2 Corinthians chapter 6, verse 7. Colossians chapter 1, verse 5. The Father wants you to read those so you can understand that when these people teaching on this platform and they run in their mouths, I'm sorry, I dropped my paper, and they talking all this yang, 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 yang. If they not talking spirit and truth, kick them to the curb. But Ahaya gave me those verses so you can understand. When you hear Sister Deborah saying spirit and truth, remember Yeshua said the time is now and the time shall come when the true worshipers shall worship in spirit and in truth. I call it spirit and truth, okay? But back then, when Timothy was calling it, right? Not back then, but Timothy was calling it the word of truth, okay? So I want you all to understand that what people are speaking on these devil platforms, these new women coming up, these women are coming up saying they prophetess and they're teachers and they're pastors, and these men is saying they are prophets, they're evangelists, they're apostles, they're pastors, they're seers, they're watchmen. Let me tell y'all something. If they are not speaking spirit and truth or the word of truth, y'all need to learn by the spirit to kick them to the curb. Don't entertain them. Don't entertain them. Now, the Father wants me to go further in this polygamy thing. He wants me to say unto you that, again, he did not, and he has not endorsed a polygamy. They have taken on things that has been said by the author, the one who wrote the book. They have spoke those things about polygamy. Ahaya said he did not speak those things. He did not approve of those things. Okay? So he wants you all to know that when David did it, he started off, when he did it, it came with lust, adultery, even to the point where he had to murder someone to have that wife, that woman there. Did it stop him? No, he still wanted what he wanted. You see what I'm saying? And it brought all kind of things going on in his household all the way to the end. Still. And that's where you see it in the sick minds of the men today. Let's go to Abraham. Ahaya want me to let you know that he did not endorse Abraham. He said, y'all, he don't understand why is it that you all don't hear his voice? Why is it you don't know the word of truth? Why is it you don't know spirit and truth? He said, did not I have Abraham in the vision? And in the vision, I told him you already counted in as righteous. So Abraham believed after he was counted in, he believed, and he had faith, belief, righteous, and fear. Abraham was branded. And in the process of being in the spirit realm, and those things happened to Abraham, what has happened? He told him then that he was going to have a seed, and he was going to be a large nation. He told him he was going to have a seed, and the seed going to come out of his own. Okay? He told that to Abraham. What did Abraham do? He go right over to Sarah, and Sarah said, here, lay down with my wife. With my handmaid. See? Totally against what Ahaya told him to do. And see, after Ahaya promised him something and told him the great nation and all of this good news, what do? He go lay down with Sarah's handmaid and have a child. You see that? Against what Ahaya had just revealed to him. Men has a very hard way of thinking. They have a very, very, very negative thing, a way of thinking. Now, let's go to Genesis 15. Let me go here. In Genesis 15, this is Ahia talking to Abraham. And now listen to how and where Abraham was. He was in the spirit realm, y'all, with the Most High. Listen to this. After these things, the word of Yah. What did I tell you? When Yah is speaking, that's what you look for when you out of this book. You understand? Don't listen to man tell them that it's okay to have polygamy. Just like Moses told him it was okay to get a written decree. And Yeshua told him, no, that is not so. From the beginning, hallelujah, it was not so. So Yeshua told them From the beginning, he said, Yeshua said, from the perfect will of my Father, that is not so. So that shows you, even him telling them they can give a written decree, even though they was just testing Yeshua, Moses most likely told them that. Because right here today, these Negroes think he got this writing of Moses telling them they can commit adultery. They can have 7 wives based on their lust. According to get a wife, you have to lust after her. You have to desire her in your heart. He said if a man has looked on a woman in his heart, he's already committed it. See, they don't look at none of that. They just want what they want. Now look here where Abraham. YAHWEH told him in the vision. Listen to what it said. After these things, the word of Yah came unto Abraham in a vision, saying, fear not, Abraham, I am your shield and your exceedingly glad reward. Why was he telling Abraham not to fear? Because Abraham was out of the natural, you guys. He was out of the natural. And what else he said? He said, and Abraham said, behold, to me, thou hast given no seed. And lo, one born in my house is my heir. And the father was telling him, behold, the word of YAHWEH came unto him. The word of YAHWEH came to him. So if the word of YAHWEH has not came to David or nobody else, Moses, Abraham, Solomon, none of them, and told them that I okay you to have a polygamy or 7 wives or more than 1 wife, it has to come and proceed out of the mouth of God. You can't, you got to rightly divide this word, and you cannot take what proceeds out of the mouth of man and make it the righteous will of the Father. It is the permissive will due to sin. The permissive will that's due to sin. I'm going to break that thing down. So what did he tell Abraham? He told him, behold, in verse 4, Genesis chapter 15 and verse 4, and behold, the word of YAHWEH came unto him, saying, this shall not be thy heir, but he that shall come forth out of thy own bowels shall be thy heir. Okay, this is what he was telling Abraham. Now see, he's telling him out of his own bowel. Now he didn't already let him know where the promise is coming from, or as you go on and read. But what happens? Abraham decided to take on Sarah's handmaid. What is going on with these men that's leaders feel that they can transfer women over to other men? Or men, it's okay as long as someone allowing you to have sex. It's okay. No, it's not okay. It's not. It is permitted, but it's a permissive will, but it's not YAHWEH's will, his perfect will. Okay? So these are things that I couldn't understand. Why would Abraham go into her after he had already heard YAHWEH tell him that he was going to do something with Sarah in him? You get it? You get it? So what he's doing? That was his permissive will he walked into. A permissive will. It wasn't YAHWEH's perfect will. So what makes us think that we can run around here with these men falling behind permissive will when permissive will normally matches up with sin? The weird, because that's what it leads to. A bunch of chaos and sin. Okay? So after Sarah had died, I know Abraham had married other women. But it's just the ideal of, you got to understand, YAHWEH is not okay in this, you guys. He is not okay. He just told Abraham, no, behold, the word of Yah came into him saying, this shall not be thy heir. Those that was in his household. He's telling him, I'm going to do this here between you and Sarah. But no, he allowed Sarah to hand him over a woman. And if you think a man going to turn down sex? No, he ain't. That's how sick their mindsets is. And especially today, they're in the land of captivity and they think they can do any and everything the way the slave master does it. And they don't see nothing wrong with it. That's because they never desire to follow or seek ye the kingdom of Yah. They can't wait for Ahia. They said, I'm just going to get on here and I'm going to do what I see them doing and I'm going to mimic them. And Ahia said, well, wait a minute, hold up, bro, hold up. Didn't I send Yeshua? Why ain't you mimicking him? Why are you mimicking David? Why are you mimicking Moses and Abraham and Jacob and so on? Why are you trying to be like them? Why ain't you mimicking the one who came down to show you the way to me, to show you how to walk, show you how to talk, show you how to act? No, they don't want to do that because they got we got loudmouth men running these camps, running these churches, call themselves leaders and pastors and bishops and apostles. Loudmouth men is still not following the order of what is perfect will of Ahia. Still going over in the permissive will and calling it righteous. Okay? Now, that's Abraham. Now, what do you think about Abraham cutting out after Ahia said, don't, that I was going to, Sarah's going to have a child and you're going to have a child and that's going to be your heir. And he decided to do it another way, the way Sarah said, here, oh yeah, I go into it. I don't, it's a thing. See, it was more than what the book is really saying. Because why would he do something after he was in the vision with y'all? Think y'all. See, these men don't follow the will of Ahia. They follow their own will, their flesh. That's what Abraham was doing. He was following his lust and his flesh. That's what he was following. Let me give you another example. And why did Ahia allow it? Wait a minute, Father, y'all. I'm going to say what I said in the lesson. Well, okay, why did you allow him to go into Hagar if you already set your perfect will in him with Sarah and him having a son? He said, that's another one of those permissive wills, Deborah. See what I'm saying? Did he stop him? No. Sin, he don't come to stop, y'all. When you are loaded to do things in the way that does not please him, he ain't coming to stop you. So you go on, keep following flesh. Okay, now let's go to Abraham going to the king. And this is what I was trying to explain to you all. There is a permissive will and there is a perfect will. Now watch this perfect will here. Now we talked about permissive will. Let's give you a little taste of Ahia's perfect will. You remember when Abraham was allowing Sarah to say that she is his sister, so that he was going in and hoping that the king would give them items. You notice Abraham wasn't caring about him having Sarah. I'm trying to get y'all to understand the minds of men. They have no moral standards, none whatsoever when it comes to sex, okay? And sin that covers sex. None whatsoever. None whatsoever. Abraham and her went to the king. And just think how Sarah was going to allow this king to go up in her. Just think of that. But what came on the scene, y'all? I want y'all to understand who my father is. He got a perfect will. He got a perfect will. He got a perfect will. And here is one other example. He told that king, you better not. She is somebody's wife. The king knew right then that was the power of Yah. And that Abraham was a man of Yah. Because Ahia had to approach him and say, you better not, or I'll take your whole family down. What was wrong with Abraham? Why didn't he say that? That's your wife. Why are you going to let another man go inside her? Y'all don't think, do you? You never think, do you? See, this is what Sister Deborah is saying, spirit and truth. Spirit and truth come to show you the truth of the matter of all things. If you have allowed him by communing with him and letting him teach you all things, not thinking that you know it all and that you can't sit up under his teaching. The Ruach HaKodesh is a teacher of all things, not something. He is the only one had to point that out to me. He said, see, Sarah wasn't caught up in laying with the man. She was getting ready to lay with him. Abraham wasn't caught up in him having her wife. They wanted materialistic things. And they didn't care what it takes to get it. But he said, Deborah, check out how I stepped in with my perfect will. I shot it down. That's my perfect will. So if they want to know where my perfect will is, that's one of them right there. I let that king know I'll take his whole family out. I shut it down. so it can stick with my perfect will. You see? You see the difference in Abraham going into Hagar, his permissive will versus his perfect will? You better not touch her. You better not touch her. And even the king was afraid. But Abraham didn't care. Go on, get Sarah. Sarah didn't care. Come on, lay with me. You see? Something wrong with that. No, y'all don't see that, do you? You ought to see a higher in that. That's when his perfect will stepped in. Said, hold up. Wait a minute. You see what I'm saying? He did the same thing with Isaac. You all don't understand the difference from the permissive will and the perfect will. Throughout the book, you can see and hear how Ahiah brought in his perfect will in many situations. Okay? So don't think that these men running around here talking about having many wives or Ahiah's perfect will. It's their perfect flesh will. It's their perfect flesh will. A permissive will that Ahiah will allow. But I'm going to break that thing down to y'all a little bit. Okay. He wanted me to share that one with Abraham. And he said, did you see the trouble that Hagar and Sarah was having during that time? Why would he permit a man to lay down with as many wives he wants just to have chaos and trouble and wicked and evil among the family? Ahiah said he's not an author of confusion. And that's all polygamy brings, an author of confusion. Because when it all said and done, every last one of them women that's dropping babies can go to the law of the land and still cause hell for the men to run around here talking about. I give them a roof over their head and food to eat. You're going to give them more than that if they not playing your game. If they not your Jim Jones group. You're going to give them more than that, and then you're going to find out how good and well your polygamy works for you. See, these men don't think like that because they thinking from another man's rectum. They're not thinking from spirit and truth. They're not speaking of the word of truth. They thinking from another man's rectum. They swim, the man that swam out to the midst of the sea, and they swimming right with him. Not even realize you're going too deep. You're going too deep. You ain't going to make it back. They're not even thinking. Okay, now he wants me to give you, who else? Who else was there? Solomon Gomorrah. Not Solomon Gomorrah. I want to show y'all. Okay, now, he wants me to give you another example. He said when you get to Genesis, and you get to Cain and Abel. Cain and Abel. You all knew Abel was really like a man of out of Ahiah's own heart. Abel was. But did not he allow Cain to take his life? Why didn't he stop him? He said, no, don't do that. Just like you say, he don't say nothing about you polygamy and you can have many wives. He don't say you can. He didn't say Cain couldn't kill Abel, did he? He didn't say that, did he? And Cain killed Abel. But is it righteous? Because Cain killed Abel. You see? Let's go to another one. Moses and his wives. You notice Moses' wives never played a role in the will of the Father. Moses' wife played a role for his temporary fix, and pretty much never spent time with his kids. Never did spend the time with his kids. He didn't get to have that. Ahiah took him somewhere else. So look at Moses and his wives. What did they do? They didn't have a God-given marriage, or father, or the kids didn't have a father. The women didn't have a husband. You see what I'm saying? So you just talking, y'all just running y'all gap, And you know what I don't like? I'm going to tell y'all as a sister, in prophetess in the wilderness, that I don't like is when men lead men far out mentally in their minds and take them far out. Most of them don't find their way home because they believe so much in that individual to where they just believe whatever that person say, it's good to go. And they don't even understand you got one breath of life in that flesh. And you got a spirit that's going to have to stand before the judgment seat of a higher. And it's not going to be built on how someone misled you. That person going to get in trouble for misleading you and sending you into a lifestyle of whoredom and adultery and lust. That person going to pay the price, but you're going to pay it too. But you ain't going to be able to stand before the Most High and say, but the pastor led me. The bishop led me. The apostle led me. No, you're not. You're going to be up there on your own. And a higher you're going to already know. Did not say, seek ye me first? No, they don't want to seek a higher. They want to seek man because man can give them that which please their flesh. And that's why they seek man. Because what man can give them pleases their flesh now. They don't want to wait until glory, come judgment, eternal. They don't want to, they want to think they're going there. And long as they can think it and still have pleasure on earth, they content. So let's look at Jacob. We're going to look at Jacob. Now, Ahia wanted me to say that every person that practiced polygamy has some real serious wicked and evil going on. Because the examples of those who did practice polygamy, they had hell, evil, and wicked in the midst of them. David had a whole lot. Jacob did too. A lot of wicked, evil things going on. If your wife gonna give you her handmaid to just lay down with, why do you think that that's the will of the Father? Why do you think you can make that the purpose will of Yah? How is it that women and men can think a man can lay down with 2 and 3 women and make it the perfect will of the Father? Why? Why, women? Why would you think that? And then turn around and it is said that, woman, your own husband, your own wife. Own don't mean more than one, or own as far as wives. Own that. You own that man. That man own you. So how is it that that man own you, but you don't own him because he's owned with other women? It doesn't make sense. No one has to debate polygamy. Nobody don't have to argue polygamy. No one has to stand and debate it or rebut it or whatever, because it can't even be debated. Why? Because it still fall under the permissive will that falls under 99.9 sin. Yes, things that he permit is things that's not under his perfect will. And you're going to understand it when I break it down. And I'm getting there. So when you go to Jacob, how is it, it doesn't make any sense for me to say, okay, take my husband and because I got a couple of friends here, have my friends. That doesn't make any sense, y'all. And don't put no righteousness to it and say, oh, it's right. Because Ahia didn't say you couldn't. He didn't tell Cain that he couldn't kill. He didn't tell Cain that he couldn't or he could kill Abel, did he? He didn't tell him that. And who else was it? Everything that went on in the Bible, the permissive will and the perfect will, you have to understand the things he allowed is because you're on the earth full of sin. And if you're not doing his perfect will, that means the perfect will from the heavens, like Yeshua told them about Moses giving them a written decree. From the beginning, that wasn't so. What was that beginning? Genesis 1 and 2. And same thing stand today. Genesis 2 and verse 24 and 25. You cannot outbeat that is what happens when sin comes in. They make everything okay in the eyes of Yah, and it's not. I wouldn't want to live pleasing man and not pleasing Yah. But he said, Deborah, that's been their problem. They always wanted a God that they can control, a God that they can see and believe, a God that they can hear in their natural ears. They never wanted who the creator is, the true God. And that's why the men today is messed up from the floor up and can't see the end game of Deuteronomy 28. You're going to be destroyed. You're going to be destroyed. So with you and your polygamy, 2023, you're going to start to see the change. You're going to see it for what it is, along with other things. Will one come out and tell the truth of the matter? No, they won't. They're going to study, hide it to where it can't be hid. And it's going to start coming out. It's going to start coming out. Ahia said he's displeased because they're using it and not following the law of the land. But the moment these women really catch on to what's going on, or feelings get hurt, or what he say, what the Father told me, it's a lot of jealousy and envy and things that man cannot control. Men cannot control that. I know they think they can. You cannot, baby. You cannot control a woman's jealousy and envy. And don't let them start touching each other. You cannot control it. So when Ahia said you get what you asked for, when you think you got the power because your mouth is loud and you think you somebody special because you're on these devil platforms, and Satan's team are loving you, go right ahead. The outcome. Now, the Father was talking about Jacob. The Father want me to speak to you women and men that's out there that's really have a question mark about polygamy. He said, go back to Jacob. See all the chaos, the evil and wicked. Then come back to it. All you all need to do is sit down and see each one that practiced polygamy. How was their household, their families, their wives, and their children? Ahia tell you that's the landmark right there. That polygamy is not of Yah. He said, what these men talking about today don't mean anything. They can take any word out of this book and master it to where they can deceive many. But Ahia saying to you to go into this book. He said the ones that you're gonna go in and you're gonna find out their family and their children. What came upon them? David. He said, search it. See what come upon David. Moses. See what come upon Moses and his wife. Abraham and Sarah. See what came up upon them for what had taken place and what come to divide them after Ahia had gave Abraham the vision already. Okay? And Jacob. He said, see the outcome of the messed up. He said, Jacob went in drunk as a skunk, and laid down with a woman he didn't know nothing about. And ended up having to marry her. And that wasn't the one he wanted to marry. You see all the stuff that he ended up, then he had to wait many, many years for that one. So Ahia said, look at the children, the outcome of everything, his household, his family. Chaos after chaos. And he said, don't give it up now. Look at it up to today. Look up Jacob's children today. Where are they at? They're in the land of their captivities. Why? This is showing you the wicked and evil of Jacob's children. See, y'all thinking they got y'all bent. See, you ain't paying attention. The 12 tribes. Check out the outcome of the 12 tribes. What happened? What happened? And when you start to look at something he shared with me, I blew my mind when he said this. He said, why would I mark minds if they're still thinking that I'm coming to redeem them and bring them out? Are they not seeing that I marked mines in Revelation? See, that's what I was saying to y'all. They got y'all bent all up and down, but they don't have them you bent. You got yourself bent. You got your own breath of life. And in your spirit, you have sung yourself to hell. You didn't do that. You sung yourself, your ways shows who you represent, who you serve. You in love with man so much that you never seen the Most High or higher. He don't live in you. He can't live in you. All those good feelings you having, all those speaking in tongues that you having, all that stuff don't mean nothing. That's what Sister Deborah's calling is. I got the spirit of discerning, interpreting tongues, and with him greater in me, he allowed me to try the spirit by the spirit. And I can sit on here and listen to you and tell you exactly who you represent. And I can take you way back to your childhood. Because that's what Ahia has given me. Why I sit and I run my race in that lane. I know things. I know what I'm talking about. And I know polygamy is not a lifestyle that no man should take on today nor tomorrow. And the sickness of running around telling you about a virgin versus an elderly woman, sick people with sick minds, making a man. They trap. Satan is trapping you with lust. Satan is trapping you with lust. Because one thing these men don't know how to do is love a woman like Ahia created them to love her. In the sense of give and gave. You see? Because they never knew. Their fathers didn't teach them because they didn't want to have time to teach them or show them anything. So they just took on or went, okay, I can say I got a father in heaven, but they can't have it if they're training you to do the things that's not in his perfect will. Now let me cover some of that right quick with you. Ahia wants you to understand the perfect will. There's a perfect will and a permissive will. Okay. Now, he gave me a really good one. The perfect will for David, Ahia said in 2 Samuel chapter 12, verse 7 and 8, where he was telling him, he gave him the whole house of Saul. I gave you the whole house of Saul. Now, who said that? Nathan said, that's what Ahia said. Ahia didn't speak verbally to David on this one. Nathan said, he gave you the whole house of Israel. The whole house of Saul. Why is it that wasn't a good enough? Okay? Why didn't you go and take this man, a man's wife that didn't belong to you? See, when he gave him Saul's, when Ahia gave David Saul's whole kingdom, that was God's perfect will, you guys. That was his perfect will. But what David did was not his perfect will. That was a permissive will. But it wasn't. That's another sign of showing you the difference from the perfect will and the permissive will. He gave David the whole kingdom, everything that Saul had in his house. Then he turned around, and David turned around and desired another man's wife. So he committed lust and adultery and murder. That's not Ahia's perfect will. It wasn't his perfect will that Cain killed Abel. Come on, y'all. Grip this thing. So stop making perfect will out of polygamy, and it's no perfect will. It's a permissive will that can still be found under wicked and evil, unrighteous. Why? Why would you say it can be found under unrighteous? Follow the trail of the outcome of it, said Ahia. Follow the trail of the outcome of the polygamy, and it would tell the story. And it's always jealousy, envy, all up in it. Was not that in Jacob's wives and in their children, what they did to Joseph? I'm telling you all, see, stop making my Father a lie so that you can live the truth of your life. He is all righteous. And ain't nothing you can do about it. So you might as well find your way to the broad gate where you have led many. And another thing the Father shared with me, most of these men won't step into this lifestyle until they have gotten enough men to go in it with them. Wow. Ahaya said, many of these men will not step in this polygamy lifestyle until they have convinced enough men to go in with them. He says sometimes they let the men do it, walk into this stage of life, and then they'll end up joining them. But they will not step into that life until they have gotten enough convinced that it's okay. So that's another trap too. That's kind of sad. That's sad. It's just like leaving someone in a dark room, knowing that it's no light gonna cut on because there's no lights in the room. Okay, Ahaya wants you to understand everything he does in twos, and you have to be careful in how you take the twos. He said, as it was said, the potter of the clay. He is the potter who formed the clay. The clay is us as human. And it says, he formed one to honor and one to dishonor. One to honor and one to dishonor. What do you mean, Deborah? If you got a permissive will, where do they fall in? Dishonor. Permissive will fall in the ones that's dishonor. And the perfect will follows honor. You see? He is the potter of the clay. That's Ahaya. He's right here. He has one to honor and one to dishonor. But he is the potter of the clay. So the one that honors fall under the perfect will. The one that dishonor fall under permissive will. Okay? So Ahaya comes back and he says, tell him that flesh and spirit. I explained throughout the biblical in Galatians 5 and 21 through 18, 21, how in Galatians chapter 5, verse 21, and 1 Thessalonians chapter 5 through 7, chapter 5, verse 7 through 11. But he wants you to look at, okay, let's go there. Let's go on it. Galatians chapter 5. We're still talking about polygamy, but we're trying to show you where it's no good in it. And it's only satisfied the flesh of man. So anything that comes to satisfy the flesh of man is not the perfect will of Yah, nor is it anything just or righteous. Okay, let's go to Galatians chapter 5. Let's kind of cover it here. In Galatians chapter 5, verse 21, it reads, wait a minute. Galatians chapter 5, let's go to verse 16. We're going to start verse 16. Listen to this. Galatians chapter 5, verse 16. This I say then, walk in the spirit, and ye shall not fulfill the lust of the flesh. Was not that what David did when he took on that man's wife? He was looking at her through a window, and he began to lust to the point where he desired what he lust for. And he didn't stop. He was willing to kill to have her. So I want you to know the Father is saying the things that's lust is of the flesh. It is not of the spirit. A man to take on multi wives, he first has to lust and desire her first. And it is said, if you look at a woman and lust in your heart, you have already committed adultery. I know it. They just flipped that script and then told you something else, to make you think that that's not what is being said. But it's plainly seen. It's impossible for a man to marry a woman without the desire of the outer appearance and the lust therein. So taking on wives, you have to lust out their outer being to desire to have them as your wife. So it becomes a heart, a lust, and a heart thing, and then she becomes your wife. But then you have committed adultery. I know a lot of them say, where it said we can't do it. Oh, it's a lot of things in there saying that you can't do it. But you done made it to fill these men head up so bad they couldn't see light if it was standing in front of them. Okay? Now here it says in Galatians chapter 5 at verse 16, this I say then, walk in the spirit, and ye shall not fulfill the lust of the flesh. For the flesh lusts against the spirit, and the spirit against the flesh. And these are contrary one to another, so that ye cannot do the things ye would. What is it saying? Verse 18. But if ye be led of the spirit, ye are not under the law. Spirit is for the perfect will of Yah. Spirit is for those who honor, has been molded by the clay to honor. Flesh is those who follow permissive will, the permissive will. And they are the one that's formed by the clay to dishonor. They are the flesh because they live by flesh. The lust and the pleasures and the ideal of what the pleasures, the ideal of what the flesh desires. Polygamy support nothing regarding my father. You say that where can it be found? It can be found under unrighteous because anything that's righteous is of Ahaya. Anything that is not righteous is of wicked and evil. So one might say, it doesn't say it. It's not saying it's wrong. It's not saying we can't. When if it's not saying that it's wrong and it's not saying that it can't, then it's not saying it's righteous. So anything that's not spoken to be righteous, then it's unrighteous. It didn't say it was righteous, did it? Then if it's not labeled as righteous, then that means it's what? Unrighteous. So it don't need to tell you if you can and if you cannot. Cain killed Abel. Not if it's saying that he murdered Abel, but that he fell under unrighteous. You see? It wasn't righteous what Cain did. It was unrighteous. Where does it say it was unrighteous back in Genesis? Where did it say that? Where did it say it? It didn't say it. It was in the beginning. But it fell under unrighteous and not righteous. It went under the permissive will, which was unrighteous. So you say that it doesn't say it, it's all up in here. And it starts in Genesis. When he said a man should leave his mother and his father. When men out there, you don't even know the power of a woman. Because Ahaya is telling you, when you leave your mother and father, you got to cleave. And when you cleave, look up that word. You got to detach yourself to a woman, not women's. That's the perfect will. Why is it perfect, Deborah? Because it was doing a perfect time before seeing him. That's why it's a perfect will. And that's why Yeshua said from the beginning that was not so. So it's a lot of things these men and every other denomination, every pastor, bishop, priest, apostle, teacher, Maureen, seer, they can teach out all this crap. But what they can't teach you is what Sister Deborah's teaching you, that rests in spirit and truth. That's where he said, rightly dividing the word of truth. They don't know how to divide because they don't have the spirit of truth resting therein. the true teacher that comes to teach you all things, not some things. See, these men are here to teach you what they want you to know, so you can stay under their umbrella. You can stay under their umbrella all you want. When it's raining, snowing, storming, stay under their umbrella. You got one, y'all. This is the sad thing about it. One breath in this body. You either serve man or you serve a true and living Ahia. To whom do you serve? You need to look at yourself the year of 2023 and say, who do I really serve? Okay, so that's another part of Ahia wanting you to understand. Permissive will is under the potter that formed the clay to dishonor. Permissive will follow the form of the flesh. Why? Because having many wives does nothing to no one but the flesh of men and women. So if it does nothing for the spirit, then it's against the spirit. You get what I'm saying, you guys? See, what we're trying to do is make something that's unrighteous righteous. And before we can do that, it has to fall under spirit. Anything righteous must fall under spirit. The spirit fights against the flesh and the flesh against the spirit. If you want to make it righteous, it has to fall under the spirit. If it does not fall under the spirit, then it's the flesh. It brings pleasure, lust, control, and power to the flesh of man. And it belittle, degrade, dehumanize, and destroy the emotions and feelings of a woman. And they really believe that that's all right with Ahia. They want to make it right. You stand and you tell me it's not saying you can't find it. Oh, baby, it's all up in the beginning to the end. But because you are too ignorant to know what Genesis 1 and 2 is saying, you're lost without a cause. And what? That is Ahia's perfect will that you are lost where you at. Because for too long has he turmoiled with you and tried to get you to do what's right. But because you think the power of these platforms and the likes and the subscribers and the money that they give is more important than seeking spirit and truth to give to his people, you have become delusional. And he have turned you to a Rebecca baited, I think that's how you pronounce it, mindset, to let you serve your flesh. Anything that's not spirit, then it is flesh. Flesh fight against the spirit, spirit fight against the flesh. Which one is righteous if it has to line up with Ahia? The spirit. Ahia don't deal with the flesh. So what makes you think Ahia created a woman to give you flesh? Because a man told you in here? Did it proceed out of the mouth of Yah? Is it the word of truth? No, it's the word that proceeds out of the mouth of man, which you can find a lot of that in. But he wants you to rightly divide that away from what proceeds out of the mouth of Yah, the word of truth. And those verses I gave you all so you can look into that. Now listen to this. In verse 18, Galatians verse 5 and verse 18, it says, but if ye be led of the Spirit, ye are not under the law. If you are led of the Spirit, Spirit don't have no dealing with polygamy. That's of the flesh. Because it brings pleasure to the flesh and not to the spirit. Say that it's not in there. Say that it's not in there. Use a lie from the pit of hell. It is not the perfect will of Yah. And the perfect will is the only thing that's written in the Lamb Book of Life that's going to come back. Because he branded him with a perfect brand. For who his name's sake shall they return? Those who have followed the flesh, for your name's sake, get all the wives you can. Because that's about all you're going to receive as an enjoyment. And those men that were of Ahia, it's a blessing that they were branded. They were branded, but they called hell while they was on the earth. They were branded for his name's sake. They was the mighty seed that ushered all the way down to the Messiah. You can't include yourself as the seed. You are already in captivity. And you're leading the multitude into a lie to please and pleasure their flesh in the land of the captivity, in which Ahiah said, you're not going to gain, you're going to lose. And you thinking because you're gaining that you're really making Ahiah's word a lie. You are trying to, but you don't understand. Ahiah has allowed you the permissive will to be on the side of the mindset of Satan. So when a lot of them thinking that because they got a lot of subscribers, they got a lot of likes, and they got it, and a lot of people paying attention to them, a lot of them giving them money, and that's the permissive will to turn you over to Satan's playground. Because you tried to make Ahiah out of a lie. And that's the same thing with the famous people who sell their spirits over to Satan. And that's why no good is following them. And they wondering why all of them dropping dead and why this happening, why they doing us like this. That. You still forgot why Ahiah did it. You never salute the curse and said, I see, Father. I have respect for what you did. I understand why you did it. I just salute your will, your way. No, you didn't. You run around here living the life of polygamy, living a life of perpetual hate on women. And the reason why they do that is because Ahiah has turned them over. And I know a lot of y'all didn't know that. Ahiah has turned them over. And when he turned them over to that type of mindset, that means they're never going to get off of it. That's why people can get on the platform and they can be talking about whatever. They'll end up right back on to women. You see, they can't seem to even, they can't understand why is it my mouth always go right back on negative, perpetual hate for women. That's because they're gone. And some of them are trying to train the men to have that same mindset. But the Father was telling me that people who have been doing that, they have caused many men to take the lives of many women, and they're going to stand for the blood that has been shed out of their perpetual hate for women. Ahiah said he's going to deal with that too. Okay, so that's what I embrace, the fact what he told me. You know, it don't faze me of what they want to say and what they want to think. Ahiah then said that to me, and he said it, I believe it, and that's that. First Thessalonians chapter 5 and verse 7. Listen to this. Chapter 5 and verse 7. For they that sleep in night, and they that be drunken are drunken in the night. And what he mean is, they that sleep, they sleep. It's like dead. They can't grip what Sister Deborah said. They ain't gonna grip it. And he said they're in the night. And they that drunken are drunken in the night. And let me tell y'all something else a lot of them was doing. And I like to say to you all, I apologize to you all that these men are saying these things that's not of y'all. I apologize for you being so deceived by a lot of the messages on this devil platform. The reason why Sister Deborah called it a devil platform is because Ahiah has allowed the devil to take a platform to give to those to be able to get on here and lead the devil's crew their way. You see what I'm saying? So don't think that Ahiah didn't orchestrate it, let it loose from heaven for Satan to get this type of platform. You see what I'm saying? So that's why I call it a devil platform, because I'm a student of the Ruach HaKodesh and I'm taught from the wilderness. I know what type of platform it is. And that's why the heathens and Gentiles can hear every word of our mindset and how we think, how we feel about each other, how we act, even as the Hebrew Israelite movement and cult. That's what it is, just a big religion and cult. And see how they conduct themselves. And a lot of them don't know. They're getting on here, they're getting their little subscribe, they're getting their little like, and they got agents working on the behalf of the heathens in their communities. I mean, in their groups, even in the camps. They don't even know it. They don't even know it. They have always been good at getting us against one another and to work against. But when you begin to put Gentiles in the midst, oh, they got them now. You know, and a lot of people don't know that. I know how the FBI works. The FBI, they don't get you until they got you. You see, they'll let you do whatever you want, and they'll be right in the midst all the time. And you never knew they were in there, but they writing things down, jotting things down. And once they got you, they got you. So a lot of people are boasting, oh, I got land, I got this, I got that, I got this. Wait till the raid come down and start finding a just reason to take everything you got. And all the people are being dispersed. And they don't know where they're going, what they're going to do. Because once that happens, you will start to see who YAHWEH is and that he told you and he warned you. A lot of times they can't take heed to the warning because too many people liking them. People are praising them, uplifting them in what they're saying. And the true people, the true worshipers in spirit and truth come tell them, you better stop, you better back that up, you better stop that, you better watch yourself, y'all gonna get you. They don't pay any attention to that. They wait for that judgment to come on them thinking, oh, it ain't came, so it ain't. No, don't ever do that. I'm telling you all out there, don't ever, especially with me. Throughout my whole life, even as a young girl, I would see something and bam, I would speak on it and bam, there it was. And then there was times I would speak on something, it took 6 months. Then it got to the point where to speak on something, it took 2 years. Sometimes it takes 6 months, take a year, take a year. You never know. It's not for me to dictate when it's going to happen. All I know is that the Father has given it to me to speak it. Once I speak it, I have released out of obedience what the Father has given to me. So don't estimate that somebody got time to play with you. Because ain't nobody got time to play with you. Ain't no park to play with you in now. God, y'all has given you up. Because he figured too many warnings came to your door. And you figured you're going to be higher than that. You're going to be powerful than that warning. You're going to be over controlling and over speaking, because the more YAHWEH kept warning you, you got louder and louder with your mouth. The more YAHWEH start warning you, you start getting your perpetual hate start to grow fuller and fuller. You know, the more you warn, the more you talk against the warning itself. And don't think YAHWEH didn't know it. Oh, it's coming, baby. It's coming. We got an hour. We in that minute. Okay. You know how he said hour is near. I'm going to tell you something. We in that hour, but we running up on the minutes. Okay, so I want you to go to 1 Thessalonians chapter 5 and verse 7. 1 Thessalonians chapter 5 and verse 7. For they that sleep in the night, and they that are drunken in the night. Now let me explain something to you all. They're teaching you all it's okay to drink. Okay? They're telling you as long as you don't get drunk. Okay, what is drunk? And give me an example of it out of the biblical, out of the mouth of Yah. What is drunk? And give me an example out of the biblical, out of the mouth of Yah. When did the word of Yah come and say and define drunk or drunken? What would you say drunken is? Drinking and drunk. And drinking is not of those who represent YAHWEH. Those are for people in the flesh who think that they have the Ruach HaKodesh and they represent YAHWEH. That's why they drink. They drink because the Satan has told them, you can drink, you can do this, you can do that, as long as you don't get drunk. But how can that be? If YAHWEH is in me, I'm a spirit. It's a spirit in here. Don't forget, what did he do? Didn't he breathe the breath of life? So now I got his breath. And I got his image, which is a spirit. Why am I taking what Satan is giving me that is known to be poison to a system? That's no good for your inner, your organs and your inside. But I'm going to sit here and drink. And I got the Holy Spirit. Come on now, y'all. The Holy Spirit is living in me. I'm teaching the people that I represent YAHWEH. And the Holy Spirit is in me. And I find time and pleasure to drink like a fountain on nationwide television. And the heathens and Gentiles are looking at these fake Jews who say they Jews, say they the people, they representing Yah. You have never showed no heathens and Gentiles that you serve a creator. Their creator and yours. See, If we really represent him, we'll show them him in us. And it's not through cursing on the pulpit, cursing on nationwide television, drinking heavy liquor, telling people it's okay, and the people are praising you in it. Yay! Oh, it's okay. We can drink. Oh, we can curse. We see that is not a higher. You cannot speak the word and curse profanity and swear. See the sick minds of our men? How they detach themselves to the mindset of somebody that's serving Satan, and they serving him because they thinking he is the man of Yah, and don't see that how can you represent Yah and doing the things of the world? Who uses a pulpit? I know the pulpit is not holy. I know the place is not of a higher, because anything that represents a higher can't share with the world. It can't use profanity, use virgins, and using sexual desires on a pulpit, but yet you're trying to speak about, teach about a higher. See, this is what's going on. This is how T.D. Jakes, and not just T.D. Jakes, but all these other white big mega churches and all these people who have churches, this is how they get away with all this. And this is why Satan don't find no time to lay off. He just figured, hey, I don't even have the stuff, Deborah, I don't even have to do. They do it themselves willingly and call it righteous. See that you can't, you guys, if you got the Ruach HaKodesh in you, and he's your teacher, he's a revealer, he's a comforter, he show you things to come, and you up on a pulpit cursing, using profanity, talking about virgins, talking about perpetual hate toward women in the so-called sanctuary, you best bet anybody walking in that sanctuary are devil or Satan bound. 100%. 100%. Satan then took over and allowed it to not to be a holy place, but a holy place to him, to darkness. And this is what this here is saying in 1 Thessalonians chapter 5 and verse 6. In verse 7. For they that sleep in the night. Okay? And they that be drunken are drunken in the night. See, to the night, to me, represents evil. Wicked and evil. Now listen to this. Let's go on and finish reading. But let us who are of the day be sober. You see what I'm saying, y'all? Why y'all sitting lie on y'all? Why do y'all all the time got to lie on him and then make man right in his wicked and evil and make y'all lie? Who are the days? But let us who are of the day be sober, putting on the breastplate of faith and love, and for the helmet of hope and salvation. Let me see if that's it. Okay. For a higher has appointed us to wrath. A higher has not appointed us to wrath, but to obtain salvation by our Yeshua HaMashiach. Okay. Verse 10, who died for us, that whether we wake or sleep, we should live together with him. Wake or sleep mean dead or alive. If we was dead or alive, we should reign, we should live together with him. Verse 11, wherefore comfort yourself together and edify one another, even as also ye do. You see, so those that are in the dark at the night, that sleep at night and are drunken in the night, those are not the same as the ones that are of the day and is sober and putting on the breastplate of faith. See, people who don't drink, they are more so can represent a higher than those that can. They do drink. Don't let somebody tell you it's okay to drink as long as you don't get drunk. How stupid does that sound? What man has spoken that word? Did that word proceed out of the mouth of Yah? And what do I mean by that? It is said. A lot of you all don't know. You all don't know anything about it, so I'm just going to bring it up a little bit. Ahia taught me the science of his messages. There are words and the way the words are swung in this book that lets you know he spoke it. You see? So a lot of times you ain't gonna know that because the spirit, the Ruach HaKodesh is the only teacher of spirit and truth. He's the only one that can come and teach you that. Man can't teach you that. You'll never find out what Sister Debbie talking about unless I tell you. And I'm not going to tell you. I'm not going to even share that with you because he told me it's finished. That means it's no time to sit here and think that what I'll say is going to penetrate or it's going to make a difference in nobody's lives. It's just words being spoken because I'm still in the race. I'm still running the race. So it's no need of me getting out of the race by not speaking. I got to continue to speak. Okay? Now, I want to show you something in, let's go to Proverbs 16. And I thank the Most High Father. I thank you for allowing me to cover this here message. I appreciate that. That's your excellence. Proverbs 16. I'm going to show you a little bit something that's very special. And this is why I tell you all, don't believe what they're telling you. And I know you're going to. It don't matter. It says here, Proverbs 16, verse 4. YAHWEH has made all things for himself, yea, even the wicked for the days of evil. Now, if that be his word, guess what? That will fall under the perfect will. That will fall under the perfect will. He created these things for the days of evil. That's YAHWEH's perfect will. Okay? So that's one of them. That's his perfect will. And let me give you one of his. No, that's not the perfect. Wait a minute. Is that the perfect will? Dishonor. Perfect will. And what else? This is, wait a minute. Perfect will. Because what it says, he made it. So that's his perfect will. For that. No, is that right? Perfect will. Yes. Let me see. He had made all things for himself. Okay, that's his perfect will. The things he made all for himself, even the evil, for the days of evil, to do his perfect will. You see what I'm saying? To do his perfect will. Okay? His perfect will. No. It's not the perfect will. It is not the perfect will, but the permissive will. He created all for himself, evil and good, to do the permissive will. And the dishonor, there it is. Dishonor and the permissive will and the flesh. That's where the evil, in Proverbs 16 and verse 4, YAHWEH has made all things for himself, yea, even the wicked for the days of evil. See, these are things that he has made for, is that the perfect will or the, I don't know if that's, will I say that's for the perfect will or permissive? The evil for the perfect will to dishonor. That got to be for the permissive will. For the permissive will and for the dishonor. One to honor and one to dishonor. He's the potter of the clay. He calls one to honor and one to dishonor. So that's dishonor, which will fall under the permissive will. So he would allow Satan, you see, to do the things that he does. That's why polygamy falls under the desire of a man's flesh. Okay? And the ways of a man's actions. It is not something for the spirit. It is for the flesh. So it is a permissive will that falls under the dishonor. He calls one to honor and one to dishonor. The one that dishonor falls under the permissive will and falls under the flesh. And the one that's perfect will falls under the honor and under the spirit. There you go. So it falls under the Proverbs 16, even though he created it all, he says, for the permissive will to dishonor the flesh. There you go. There you go. That makes more sense. And in all these verses that he's given me, he's separating the permissive will from the perfect will. He's separating the honor and the dishonor, and he's separating the flesh and the spirit. So when you see something like, let's take anything for instance. If you see a situation, this is how you can measure it in spirit and in truth. You can measure it. Does it satisfy the flesh or does it satisfy the spirit? You get what I'm saying? Is it for the spirit or is it for the flesh? We know nothing in our flesh is satisfied the spirit of Yah. It does nothing in our flesh can worship even Yah. So if we're doing something to our flesh and we think it is worshiping Yah, it's not. It's not. Because our higher wants our inner man, our spirit, that image that we have of him, that spirit. He wants to abide in that. And our spirit abide in him, he abide in us, and we become one, like in Yeshua HaMashiach. You see? But if we take on this thing about our flesh and getting the desires and the pleasures and the lust and the will and the feelings and the emotions and the understanding in our flesh and the knowledge in our flesh and the wisdom in our flesh, all that is of the flesh. Okay? And that's come to dishonor. Okay? And not honor or higher, but dishonor. Okay? And that is also the permissive will. Okay? So it's a lot of things he was explaining to me, how things have taken place and he has allowed it through the permissive will. And let's take, for instance, let me give you another one, where he was talking about homosexuals. Okay? He was talking about how homosexuals today it was conducting himself the same way of yesterday in Sodom and Gomorrah. And he said it's going to be like the days of Sodom and Gomorrah, even in these last days. And are we not seeing those? But because we are seeing those and those things are being done, that's still a permissive will. Okay? Not so what he prophesied that it will be here doesn't mean that it's his perfect will. It is a permissive will. Things that he is allowing. Why? Because what a lot of people did not know is if you have cold and hot, okay, you couldn't call cold cold unless there were hot. You couldn't call hot hot unless there is cold. If there's an up and a down, you couldn't call up unless there's a down. You couldn't call down unless there's an up. You see? If it's dark and it's light, you couldn't call dark if there's not a light. You see what I'm saying? So when you're going into permissive will versus perfect will, there's two. And they have nothing in common, you guys. Outside of one thing. The will of Yah. The will of Yah. One permissive, one perfect, to come to work. The will of Yah. Just like the tare and the wheat. Let them grow together. See, a lot of people don't know. He got his marked. Why would he mark his in the forehead? Because he's finished. Like I try to explain to you all. He finished. Mark mine, bam, it's over. You see? That means, and another thing I'm going to tell you where I think that shows the weakness of Judah. The real strong weakness is when they take 144 and not measure it by a number of people. That's even amongst the tribe of Judah. If they can't see that 144 is just 1%, that's why it's a small remnant. See, they don't get it. They thinking the whole house is going. And I'm going to also cover that the dry bones. I think a lot of people are misunderstanding the dry bones. And the reason, what's the connection to the dry bones and David also showing up with a multitude of dry bones being taken over to Israel. The dry bones are not for the stiff-necked rebellion and disobedient people. I'm sorry, you all. Those people went the way of Satan. So he's not going to collect them bones back up and say, okay, I'm going to collect you and get you back over here by the multitude of men and take you to the promised land. That's not how YAHWEH rumbles. And all you have to do is study this book under the Ruach HaKodesh, not over the Ruach HaKodesh. And that's what has happened. Our men have fallen under, they have fallen over. They decided to teach over the Ruach HaKodesh instead of being under the Ruach HaKodesh. And YAHWEH said, let him alone. Let him do. And see, that's what they don't understand. He turned them over already. So I believe that the dry bones, and I'm going to do a great study in it with the Ruach HaKodesh, because I think people are confused about the dry bones. I think the dry bones are the armies that fought with David. And that's why they scattered all over the place. And I think also scattering all over the place on ground wise, where it wasn't saying that it one had come from this country and this country and this country, or this here over the four corners. No, they were scattered as if they was a whole bunch of bones in one place. And then the scattering of the bones represents someone who maybe lost their lives, and that's where their bones were scattered, during all that time, and they started to connect with each other. I think people are missing actually the whole overall of the dry bones, because they get confused trying to place things in the natural and don't understand. You have to go in the spirit realm to really understand, because it was in the spirit where Ezekiel was. So we're trying to bring it to the natural and trying to make things fall under Torah in the ways of yesterday, which we never kept then. Why we trying to press the issue now when you're in captivity? It can't work, because Torah can't come into the captivity of what you in. You're already judged. You're being judged. So therefore, you can't bring away that you was given all these thousands of years into a curse and thinking it's gonna change your curse. It's not. It's not going to change it. The curse is going to be fulfilled. It's an end game to the curse, and that is until you are destroyed mentally or physically. And as Isaiah chapter 3, verse 24 and 25, it states that our men and our mighty men will be destroyed. So I do understand why they're going to be destroyed, because they kicking up a lot of chaos, and can't see that they're not being worshiped. They're not really worshiping the Most High. They're worshiping their flesh and the ways of their flesh. But the dry bones to me is, I'm going to go into it a little deeper, because the dry bones to me represents the army that David represented, which was the house of Israel and Judah, bringing them all together. And I think they are the army that he's going to bring together to take over to the promised land, along with the 144. Now, I believe he's going to do this twice, but taking over an army. I'm not sure. I believe that's what I was reading. And what a lot of people don't understand, that's why David is going to be the leader over in the promised land, because he's going to come back as the king over his army. So a lot of people think they're calling it everything. It's not what they saying. Yes, it is the house of Israel, but it's not people today and yesterday, or people in this land of that captivity, because what they did is they had 400 years to get it right. And here it is past the 400 years, and they still cursing Yah. They're cursing him by saying that your curse is not true. This curse that we in is not true. This person did this person did this, and we fighting toward this, and they don't understand. The curse has even an end game. It's saying you're going to be destroyed. You're going to come in curse, you're going to leave out curse. What is it that you don't get? It's only people, these men are getting what they want to get pleasure in their flesh, to understand it in their flesh only. They're not gripping it in the spirit and truth, nor in the word of truth. So they're just left out here until they are destroyed, and they will be destroyed, whether it's natural, physical. They're going to be mentally and physically destroyed. And that's where the 7 women's going to come in with the one man, and it wasn't going to be that the man it's going to have this 7 women as wives. It's going to be his name going to be holy because he's going to be one that's going to be left out of those who are in this here captivity. He's going to be the one left to further it, and he's going to be called holy. Yes, those that's coming out is going to be called holy because when we get to the other side, it's going to be a lot of cleansing and new heart, new name, all this good stuff, new spirit, all that. So we're going to be cleansed, and then we be called holy. So it's just a sad thing, and it really is. It's a very sad thing. And I was talking about homosexual. As you see it, the lifestyle of homosexual back in Sodom and Gomorrah, and did you see how he destroyed the cities and the surrounding cities, but yet it still came out. You go back and judge, and one of the tribes, not Dan, Benjamin, was practicing it over again. Solomon and Gomorrah, a homosexual. So it is back then, and it's going over into where you see today. So when we see as people who say we are awakening, you see these homosexual brown-skinned men and women, you got to understand this is your lineage. Okay, see, but you ain't speaking spirit and truth or the word of truth. You so busy running around here to try to get in on what they doing, but doing it in a different way. Lust, sin, and adultery, and whoremongering, just a different way. And it's still, that's why he says it's gonna be like the days of Solomon and Gomorrah, just like the days of Noah. You all just not putting the pieces together because you're wanting to put things together based on your flesh, and because you get so many praise on this fake media that's platforms that's making you thinking you famous and you special and you this, to where your head and got blown out and you can't find your way back home. So you're too far out in the ocean and you're not going to make it back to dry land. So that which you're partying hardy in, you might as well continue, because Ahia said he has done too much with trying to show you your ways. I wanted to say also throughout that time with the days of Lot, why do you see that same action going on today? He ain't stopped it. Did he tell them they can and cannot do it? Did he tell them that homosexual? Did he tell them in Sodom and Gomorrah? Then why did Benjamin start it over again? And why do you see it today? So should we say that's the permissive will? Yes, it is. It's no perfect will in that. And the permissive will is most of the time, 99.9 is loaded with sin to the flesh. Okay? So let me see. So that was something he wanted me to put in there. Why wasn't that stopped as far as the homosexual? Why do you see it today? So when you see polygamy, yesterday you read of it and you see it today, and don't go trying to put it in the perfect will. That's in a permissive will that also fall under wicked and evil. Okay? 99.9 it does. Things he would allow. Okay, I think I covered as much as I think he wants me to, and know that he's a potter of the clay that calls one to honor and one to dishonor. Okay, so I think I did cover it. Yeah, I think I did. I did as much as he allowed. And he wants you to know he does not endorse polygamy, and don't let nobody tell you that. And you'll never find the strength of the real righteous men that's branded by a highest brand, because they branded with righteous belief, faith, and fear. They branded from heavens. They came down here like that. You won't find many of them around, because they have to battle with what you see today. saying things that's unrighteous is right and right is wrong. And they have issues trying to measure that as a man. And they don't know how to come out and proclaim it because of so much darkness and wickedness has taken over, and the highest in the midst judging the whole house of Israel with the fire, and they don't understand. That's why you see a lot of killing and a lot of things that's going on with the whole house of Israel, is because, especially with Judah, because Judah was supposed to have been the one that set an example to the whole house, but they did the opposite, and that's why no one pays any attention to it. They got the biggest level of hate, I think, and don't let nobody tell you that the tribe of Judah don't have a form of hate. They do, because anytime you can hate your own, the one that bring forth your nation, you will hate anybody. You will hate just like you hate your mother, you hate your sisters, you hate your cousins, you hate everybody outside of you and who you are able to convince to follow you. Outside of that, and let me tell y'all something. When you get involved in a bad tree, a dark tree, a bad tree, and you fall from that tree, and you find a way to get from underneath that tree because you fell from it, it is very hard, very, very hard to be separated from that tree, because you start to talk like that tree, you start to act like that tree, you start to conduct yourself like that bad tree you fell under from under. And it's very hard. But I'm going to tell you the key to it is, YAHWEH says, seek ye the kingdom first. See, you have to go into a form of seeking ye the kingdom first. Now, can somebody fall from a bad apple and be one of the ones he have marked in the forehead? Yes, you can. That's why he got you from underneath that bad apple in time, so that you can see that you are marked and you represent YAHWEH. Okay? So I, Sister Deborah, hope that you all got something out of it. And I want you to understand that YAHWEH is not endorsing or have polygamy. That is the flesh. All that has to do with the lust of the flesh. It has nothing to do with the producing of children and coming together to make things work. No, it don't have nothing to do with that, said the Most High YAHWEH. They can go in and deceive you all to believe that, but it really doesn't. Because you have to think about how the 12 tribes turned out. And if it was all about producing for us the spirit and of a YAHWEH, then why isn't the 12 tribes in captivity today? So YAHWEH wants you to look at that too. When they get to tell you what Jacob then had and what Jacob done, look at Jacob today. That's what YAHWEH wants you to do. And that should help you measure polygamy in the way that man wants you to see it. Look at Jacob today. Look at Jacob yesterday and look at Jacob today. Okay? So I, Sister Deborah, say unto you, shalom and shalom. And I'll see you next time.